The Widow's Mites. The time is 10:45 on Friday morning. The place, the corner of Center and Walnut Streets, 4 blocks from the Lincoln Grade School. The characters, 9-year-old Milton McKee, commonly known as Warty, and his confederate in crime, 10-year-old Percy Lufkin. As the story opens, the boys turn with reluctant footsteps towards the institution of learning. Warty speaks. "Gosh, Percy, you got to get your head to working and think up some excuse for us being so tardy. It was your idea in the first place. I mean us going out to the airport to see the Tri-Motor Land, so it's up to you to think up something that'll get us out of this scrap with the least possible punishment. What do you got to offer?" "Ah, shucks, that's easy. Just tell her your grandma died and we had to go to her funeral." "That old gag? Say, if my grandma had died, you wouldn't get no invitation to her funeral. No, sirree, not if she lived to be 200, we wouldn't have no sap like you sniffling around at her funeral. Besides, that old excuse is moth-et. That would be some story. Say, why don't you just tell her your old man died and left us a hidden treasure and we had to go dig for it, huh? Ha ha. Ha ha, yeah, I got a half a notion to just push your face in. Just go ahead and do it and I'll break all the important bones in your body while you're about it. But say, this ain't no way to act. We've got to stick together and think up some way to get out of this scrap. Say, couldn't you just be sick or something?" "I don't know. I'd have to look sick, golly." "I've got it. You have the chicken pox, and I'll make 'em with this red crayon I got right here in my pocket. Now shut your eyes. Hold still. Boy, this is one chicken what's going to have plenty of pox. There, you look just like a polka-dotted palooka." "Yeah, but how did I get 'em? You don't get diseases just 'cause you want 'em. You gotta be exposed." "Ah, shucks, you could get 'em anywhere. Well, I'll bet you could get 'em from chickens. You folks has got chickens, haven't you?" "No, we haven't, but the Widder Jenkins that lives next door to us, she's got an old black Minorca rooster and 2 white hens. Maybe I got 'em from her chickens. Maybe we were in her chicken coop. Do you get me? Sure thing. Got 'em from the Widder Jenkins chicken coop. We're gonna slide out of this like we was greased. Come on the trail, mate." The next scene takes place in the 4th grade schoolroom, where 30 little heads are bent over 30 little books. Percy and Warty enter. With studied nonchalance, they saunter toward their seats as Miss Burton, the teacher, speaks. "Just a moment, boys. Will you please come to my desk?" "Boys, for 1 week you've acted like normal human beings. You have arrived on time and you have made passing grades. Now, on the last day of the week, you have broken your good record by appearing 2 hours late. Percy, we will hear your story first." "Well, gee, Miss Burton, look at Ward's face." "Yes, and what is the matter with his—" "What are those terrible red splotches?" The chicken pox. He got 'em from being in the Widder Jenkins chicken coop." "Yes, and what was he doing in the widowed Mrs. Jenkins chicken coop?" "Well, it's just like this. She's a poor old widow woman on account of she ain't got no wife. Or I mean a wife is a husband what's lost his—" "Never mind, Percy. I see that your sympathy for the widowed Mrs. Jenkins has led your conversation to be very unintelligible. Milton, we will hear your story next." "Well, it ain't no story. I mean, what he started telling you, it's really happened like he said, or what I mean is—" "Do you really know what you mean?" "Sure I know what I mean, but when you look at me that way, my thinker gets to percolating sideways. Well, it was just like this. We started out in plenty of time to get to school, and just as we was a-passing the widder's yard, we heard the most awfulest howling, and we just looked, and there she was, just in her backyard, just a-bawling fit to kill, and she said, 'Oh, dear, I've just got my black Minorca rooster's just awful sick. And he's got the mites, and he's gonna die if I don't get my chicken coop sprayed, and I'm a poor old widder woman what can't do it herself. Oh dear. So I just says to her, 'Miss Jenkins, we'll spray your hen coop. Just like this,' I says it. We'll help you with your chickens.' Yeah, we was doing it, you always tell us that we've got to help our elders. Of course, You know what, Miss Jenkins, she ain't no elder. On account of not being a Presbyterian, they don't have elders, just ushers. But then I suppose if she was a... Never mind, Percy. Your sympathy for the widowed Mrs. Jenkins has led your conversation. We are just unintelligible, and we are not right now discussing denominationalism. Continue, Milton, with your story. Well, there you go again, Miss Burton, calling it a story. If you don't have an... Quit calling it a story, you'll have me believing I just dreamed it up or something when I know darn well and ever. Oh, for goodness sakes, go on with your... Well, what did you do after that? Well, we got that spraying stuff, and she took us around to where old Black Minorca Rooster was laying on that ground, and I looked down into his face, and he looked up at me, and he just said, Pip, 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 caw, caw, just like he was saying to me, oh, can't you help me? So we just decided we'd just help, and we just got that spraying stuff, and when we got around there, didn't that baby need spraying? I'll tell the world she did. Why, in another 24 hours, that chicken coop would have been walking off with itself. Mites? There was just swarms and droves and flocks and herds of them. They was running across the floor and up the walls and jumping, playing leapfrog over the roofs, and in one nest. There was a china egg put there to fool some hen into thinking another hen had done her day's duty before she had, and I better get a move on me, and there were so many mites on it you couldn't see the china. Honest Injun, Miss Burton, them chickens? Why, them chickens was so infested with insects you couldn't tell the species they was. Well, we started to spraying, and didn't they just turn on us like wild charging beasts? They got all over us before we could make a getaway. Horrors, I can barely feel them. So can I. So can Perce. He's a-scratching too, look it. Oh, boys, this is serious. Did you wash and change your clothing before you came to school? Oh, heck no. We didn't want to be any later than what we already was, so we just scooped off all of them that was in sight and came on a dead run for school. Oh, this is terrible. They're just getting all over here. We'll have to have your parents come and take you back home or something and get your clothes changed. We just can't have this varmint in the schoolroom. Now, I don't know about that, Miss Jenkins. We have flies in here, and I think mites is a darn sight more respectable than flies. Mites, you know, they just have a way of hiding where they can be felt, and flies, they just go buzzing around in public places where death stares them in the face constantly. Oh, this is terrible. They're just all over me. I can feel them over my scalp. They're running up and down my spine and my collarbone. Oh, I don't know. What are we going to do? We'll just have to fumigate. We've just got to call your parents. Parents? Oh, now, Miss Burton, you don't need to go getting all shook up and calling our parents. Well, that's just what we'll have to do. I think they're just all over me. All the children are scratching. We'll have to fumigate. That's the only way we can get rid of all of these mites, is to just fumigate. You there in the back, one of you children, quick, go get the principal. Now, Miss Burton, don't call the principal. Heck no, just please don't call the principal, because you know what? Maybe, just maybe I was a little lion. Percy, were you or were you not telling the truth? Oh, I were not, but now I are. We didn't go to that chicken coop at all. We went to the airport to see the Tri-Motor Land. Double crosser. When it was your idea in the first place. Say, Miss Burton, you ought to be so thankful that those was imaginary mites instead of real ones, that you just forgive and forget. Oh gosh, here comes the principal. The next scene takes place in the principal's office, where Percy and Warty are standing dejectedly by two chairs on which they are unable to sit. The teacher goes out, leaving them alone. Lord, why don't you laugh? Laugh. I'll laugh whenever there's something to laugh at. Why, you poor lopsided, squash-headed lummox, I'll never speak to you again, not even to insult you. Well, we had fun, didn't we? Fun, huh? Whenever I think of her licking me the way she did, it sure makes my modesty feel funny. Well, I guess a man always has to pay. What do you mean, pay? You know, whenever I think of old goggle-eyed Burton a-standing there a-digging imaginary mites out of her collarbone, I'll pert near die a-laughing. Sometimes I think it pays to be tough.